Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That depends upon when you're listening. Welcome to The Solution. Nothing changes if we change nothing. And as you can tell, we are back again. It's not just, it wasn't that one time, but we're back and we hope to continue to be back. Hey, Chevar, it's afternoon today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, my Chevar Francis here again with Ronnie Katz, one of the coolest hosts in the world. Next to me, in addition, we rock out together. You wear my favorite color today, which is purple.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I did
I'm
that
doing
on purpose.
I'm doing good. The sun is out. As I get the energy from the sun. I'm like Superman or any other powered being or flower, who lives for the sun. So I'm happy that the sun is out. And this week is the week of is it the beginning of the holiday season, correct? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, this will be released next week, but
Yeah,
still, but we're recording this right before Thanksgiving. A-
absolutely.
and that's my favorite holiday of the year.
I would I had to think about that hard because we been having this conversation offline with via our meetings and subcommittees and people in general in our lives,
Hmm.
and I'm like, and I think when the question was posed, like, what is your favorite side dish, and I kind of answered it a little bit differently, where I said I'm more into the gathering, the idea, the gathering piece, the
Hmm.
conversation piece, the getting together, seeing people haven't seen in months, and the breaking bread of the meeting of that day. Like, it's watching football, watching the parade. Like, you're gonna watch the parade with the little ladies, you know.
My dogs, yes.
So, like, I'm more, again, to your point, it is probably my favorite holiday. As a kid, you would probably say either or for me it would be Christmas or Halloween, because you get to dress up and get candy or you get gifts. But as
Hmm.
an adult, more it's like I pay more attention to the gathering because those are important to me, getting together and spending time. And ironically enough, we were supposed to have my friends and I. We were supposed to have a friendsgiving, a
Mm.
pre-pandemic. Pandemic screwed it up. So one of our friends who went in this group, he sent us a text. Can we have a friendsgiving? I'm like, yeah. I'm well. Am I free? Maybe we'll figure it out. But it was so last minute that we couldn't, get our schedules around it. So we did schedule for next year. So it's in everyone's
Okay,
calendar that November 11th, I'm out there putting out our information, but you put it out in the universe, it comes back. November
that's right.
11th.
It comes back the way it needs to.
Absolutely. So November 11th, there will be a Friendsgiving, and I'm
Nice.
excited about that. Gathering with my friends. Like I said, this is the time of the year, especially with this holiday, is the gathering piece, the conversation piece, the hugging, Ronnie, the hugging.
I will miss that. And I mean, that whenever you and I see each other in person, it's about hugging. But w- uh, over the years, my Thanksgiving has been more of a small event where
Mhm,
my wife
mhm,
and I and our dogs just have our little celebration. Because I spent so many years. I went to my mother's for Thanksgiving. Well, I didn't. When I say I went, when I was a young kid, I
mhm,
was
mhm,
there already.
mhm.
But I spent every Thanksgiving of my life with my mother for the first 45 years of my life. And I loved that. But when I
Mhm,
moved to Tennessee in '97, I was flying back and forth for holidays, and it was hard. I
mhm,
mean,
mhm,
it was
mhm.
one time I flew on Thanksgiving. It was
Oh,
crazy,
wow.
but I made it in time. And I loved doing that. And I mean, to have my mother around again, I
Mhm,
would love to do that again. But we after I met my wife, and we weren't married yet, and we weren't fully together yet. We started spending Thanksgiving together, and my mother said to me, I remember her saying, I'm okay with it. I had you for the first 45 years. Now
oh,
it's
wow.
someone else's turn. And I
Mhm,
got really into making my own traditions with her. And
mhm,
so for us, it's very intimate. We do all the things we want to do, and it's kind of nice for me
mhm,
not to
mhm.
be in the gathering situation. Like I'm taking tomorrow off. I'm going to have 5 days off like you are. And I'm like so excited just to be able to not have to be anywhere at any time except to let the crazy puppy run around the yard because if she doesn't run, she becomes insane.
I think you said something important, which I want the listeners to fully understand. Experience the holiday, however works for you. Like, I'm looking forward to the gathering because I'm not cooking, so I go and I go eat someone else's food. Well, my mom's in particular get to see my nieces and nephews. My mom, the kids we all get to hang out, my brother and everything. But for you, it's a little bit different. It's about that setting where it's like it's relaxed. and the rest of the world outside of your home stops. Or rather that stops, it doesn't exist,
I don't
which I
have to
think
let
is
it in. Yeah.
yeah, which I think is important. And for people who are listening, experience it how you want to experience it. No one's less, no one's more. It's your experience, and that's the important part. It is your experience, and that's cool. Like I don't force you for having it. I would love to in the future have an intimate, but right now it's like because of the pandemic and because I'm a social being. Well, initially I didn't think I was a social being, but I'm a very social being, and I
Yeah.
miss people and I miss it and I miss the families and the friends
Oh,
and I miss it a lot. And I said it like 3 times, but I miss it. I'm gonna say it again. I miss it a lot.
but I think it's about doing what brings you joy,
Absolutely.
whatever that is. Like you said, just whatever makes you feel good inside, what brings you joy. My silly little tradition of, you know, the Thanksgiving parade with the dogs. I'm so excited that I have this puppy. Everything's a first right now. Her first snowfall. I know she's going to be insane, but I can't wait. I want to see her face. Like the first time she saw pouring rain, we had a drought this summer. She was born during a drought.
Oh wow.
So the first time when we had pouring rain, I was out there in a raincoat because this dog had to jump up and down in the puddles and
Oh, that's
drink the
cool.
puddles. And I looked at that. I said, "This is someone who's drinking up life."
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
I mean, I thought, that was so inspirational to me. It's about you met Deb. Deb has been on our podcast. She talks about having an alive day. Am I having an alive day today?
Mm.
And I love that concept because what does it take to have an alive day? It's different, like you said, for everybody. Sometimes it's feeling the sun on your face.
Sometimes it's feeling the sun in your face. Sometimes it's playing in the snow, or for the puppy drinking the puddle of the water. It is what makes sense to you and how you enjoy it, and that's what I truly believe allowing people to enjoy life the way they want to enjoy life. As long as it's not harmful or detrimental to themselves or anyone around them, I do live, man. Like I
That's
was
right.
talking to friends the other day about just having fun. Like I just want to go out and have fun. I miss being a kid. Trust me. Like I miss not having to worry about bills. Like dude, I miss it. Like the only thing I had to do
Yeah.
was go to school. I could do that.
Yeah.
I can go to school. Give me that. That's not a big deal. Day's over by 2:30, 3 o'clock. I could go play, watch cartoons, do homework. Give me that whole day. Like, give me that. But I mean, as far as like the going out and having fun, I truly will be doing that. Like, I'm going roller skating soon. Like,
Nice.
just doing regular stuff. Like, not worrying about crowds or parties or who's gonna be there. I'm just there for me in the moment. That's it. I'm there for the moment, I'm smiling for those of you guys who hear the audio. You probably can hear the joy in my voice, but I'm purely there for the moment, man. Like have fun, people. Go fly a kite.
Yeah.
Go fly. I'm not telling you as a derogatory term, but literally go outside, go get a kite,
And
go
fly
fly.
your, if that's what brings you joy. You know, I know this always happens when you're expounding about
Yeah,
some things, but we have a knock on, or actually, our doorbell just rang.
I'm doing about this. Just ring.
So should we let our guests in so they don't have? I mean, I don't. I think the furniture in the waiting room might be a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm going to let them in because
Absolutely.
I think it's a little more comfortable here, and we're going to let our guests in, and they're arriving now. Um, all right. Hello. I was going to say good morning, good afternoon. We're actually in the middle of the show, so this always happens. Chevar's talking away. Usually it's Chevar, and the doorbell rings. So you're here. Welcome to the solution. Nothing changes if you change nothing.
Thank you for
Right.
having us.
Thank
We're
you for having us.
we're excited that you're here. We love you guys, and it's just we've been so excited by everything we've been experiencing together, and just this whole thing. So, basically, we're gonna have a little fun today, but we'd like to start out by having you introduce yourselves and tell our viewers, our listeners, what you do and where you do it, and anything else you want to tell about yourself.
Okay, great. So I'm Leyla Bermudez. I am the Director of Youth Services at ELMCOR Youth and Adult Activities. We are located in Corona, Queens. Whoop, whoop. I am born and raised in East Elmhurst, which is neighboring to Corona. And something about me, I've been doing youth work for over 20 years, and I am a huge, huge, huge dog lover. So I'm sure that Ronnie inserts her babies in her fur babies, right? So I have my fur baby too. And I love the work that I do, and I love working with my community. I enjoy seeing them flourish and giving them as many tools and guidance and programming and activities as much as I can to make sure that they have everything they need so that they can totally, go off the charts, shoot to the moon. So that's me.
I'm F.Johnson. I'm the coordinator of the prevention program here at ELMCOR. I am born, raised, and still reside in East Elmhurst. I am a product of my community, and that is something I say with a lot of pride. I love my community very much, which is why I now work within my community. Something about me. I love colors. I'm a very, very colorful person. I'm not big on black and gray and white. I love being colorful. And I also love young people. I love advocating for youth, and I love uplifting youth voice. So that is a little about Frances.
No, and yeah, I'm also a Queensite. I mean, I'm on Long Island now, but I was raised in Queens, and that's where we spent most of my life. I went to York College. I mean, come on, I was from one of the first graduating classes there. So Queens has my heart. And when I came back to New York, we really wanted to live in Queens, but we couldn't find a place that would let us have the dogs. So we wound up jumping around for a while till we found our home. But I just want to also say that Layla and I first connected 4 or 5 years ago at a
Yeah.
training because we talked about our dogs so much. Um, that it was like the dog thing. And I only recently found out she's part of a group that I'm in with dogs, and I'm always posting about my dogs, and I'm talking about it. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I know, I saw you in the group." I'm like, "Oh my God!" So you never know who's in your groups. Be careful what you
Never
say.
know.
And by the way, if I do have to like get off screen for a little while, it's because the puppy's screaming in the background or the 13-year-old Lucy wants to come in the room. But anyway, welcome, and we're so happy you're here.
Can I
Thank
say
you.
something really quickly?
Of
The
course.
two of them have some of the coolest glasses on, and I'm digging the color of your hair, Francis. Like for those of you guys who see the podcast, who see the episode, you get to see the color of Francis's hair, and then and these glasses are super cool. And purple is my favorite color. I'm a big purple fan. I'm not from Queens. I'm from Harlem. Well, Harlem is not a borough. It's a neighborhood. Those of us who live in Harlem think it's a whole city. But but no,
It's a quick shot across the Triborough. Don't worry. And I'm old because I call it the Triborough because it's not even called that.
well, welcome to the show. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. So
Absolutely.
what do you so let's talk about the program you guys have. Talk about ELMCOR. Let's talk about the special pops, or special pop. This is the jargon that we know. Special populations grant coalition that you guys are moving forward with. Please share what you guys are doing or have been doing or want to do.
So special pops, just to elaborate on that, we are actually just got funding from Oasis to start a Queens coalition, and the special population that we are focusing on is immigration. So the coalition focuses on substance use and strategic planning to change substance use within the community. And our special population, what we're focusing on is immigration and substance use within the immigration population. Along with that, just keep on going with the programs that we have here at ELMCOR. In prevention specifically, we also just got awarded to do a pilot program for WISE and SBIRD. So historically, prevention has only gone up to the age of 21, and now prevention is going and expanding into the lifespan of a human being, which is very exciting for us here at ELMCOR. We are very, very excited about that. And what we get to do now is prevention work with older adults and veterans as well. So it's no longer just prevention with young people, but it's prevention with humans, because prevention is forever. It doesn't just stop at the age of 21. So we are also going to be doing evidence-based programming with older adults and veterans as well.
I love that. That's amazing, though. It is, because so often we just kind of look at one population and we don't see how people affect each other. And it's, like I'm a baby boomer. I know some people think that's like Okay, babe. Okay, boomer.
Okay.
But this boomer, has been through a lot, and I'm in long-term recovery, and a lot of people in my age group don't think that there's anything wrong. They have a problem, but some of the highest uses is among people in my age group, and
Mhm.
some of the highest overdose rates. So people don't realize that. But I don't want to cut you off, Layla. So you were just going to add to that.
Yes. So we're super excited on the heels of what Francis was talking about. We're super excited about doing this pilot program because a little bit about ELMCOR. ELMCOR actually has been in the community for 57 years. We are the oldest Black run, Black led, Black organized community-based organization. And it kind of really was birthed out of the community members looking to offer something to young people during the first opioid epidemic back in the 60s. And then it's kind of morphed and grown into the fact that we have 4 older adult centers where we can start this pilot program, right? Where we have a youth recovery clubhouse, which works hand in hand with our prevention program. And then we have all the other different programs. We have an outpatient program that also has a CODI unit, which is a van that goes out into the community and can bring services using peers, right, in the community. Then we have a residential treatment program as well, where we have people who live on our campus. We have a small campus, 3 buildings, but that's a lot out here in the concrete jungle, right, out in Queens. So we have that program. So all of our programs are interrelated, right? It's very important that we always view that the person that's sitting in front of us, whether they're the little ones, oh, how can I forget? We have a 3K, 4K program out in Jamaica that's funded and contracted with the DOE. So we really are servicing from 3-year-olds up to 103, which we may have some of our seniors or our older adults who are that age. But really important for us to always look at whoever comes in our doors, whichever mode, whichever point of contact, that they are just one little cell of such a larger system, and that all of us are here to service not only the participant in front of us, but their extended identified family, and understanding that it's not just one person, it's everyone who's connected to that person. When you're talking about substance use, when you're talking about prevention, when you're talking about anything else that they may be going through, that we always have to have services to support everyone, not just the person that's in front of us. So that's super important for us.
That's very, very impressive too. And I think that I didn't even realize you had all those services,
Oh,
because people don't know. Unless that's why we're here today. We want you to be able to tell them. At some point too, we're going to ask you to share your contact information, and we'll make
sure.
sure that it's listed in the comments, and at the bottom of the screen when this gets edited and released next week, next Friday. So tell us more.
So we're also right now we're going to talk a little bit about our clubhouse. So our youth recovery clubhouse is the only one in Queens. So it's been in existence since 2018, and we service 12-year-olds up until 17, and then we also do younger adults, which is the 18-year-old up to 25-year-olds. And we have a drop-in style. They come in, we have a host of different activities for them. We make sure that we're meeting their needs. They have an advisory board, all of those things, right? Super important. I'm sorry, but you know how it is working in nonprofit. So that's going on. We also have, in addition to an expanding our youth clubhouse, is that we also received funding for us to be able to do a youth change agent framework. So we are super excited about that. That's really just making a curriculum, a framework to develop young leaders within our community, because a lot of our programs are all thread through social justice is the lens and the perspective we come from. So we want our young people to be able to kind of look at the skills that they already have and the power that they have. We just have to get them to kind of see it and then hone it in and focus it, and be using the youth change age framework, it's really getting them to become a change agent within the community and having them learn how to do community mapping, how to be able to look at who are the stakeholders in the community, identifying policies that may need to change, and how do you go about that, which also is very interactive with the coalition. So a lot of the things kind of flow into one another. And we notice that, and we want to be able to have everyone in the community be a part of all these different things that we're working on. But it really comes down to really an alignment with our mission at ELMCOR, which is really about having people become, develop life skills to become self-sufficient and really see themselves as being accountable for what happens in their community, right? And being a part of it. And how do you make change? Even though you're young or you're older, it doesn't matter, that you actually hold the power within yourself. You just have to take a little bit of time. We might have to help you a little bit to kind of identify it. And then how do we refine things so that you can actually be up there and do what we do, right? Be able to talk to people, talk to elected officials, communicate effectively, all of those things, and to develop leaders in our young people, because they're really the ones who do all the rebelling. If we look back in history, it's always been the youth who kind of identify things and have that voice and have the energy, right? Because this fight is a lot of energy sometimes. So we got to sometimes hand it over to the youngins so they can kind of do it while we just sit there and we cheer them on, right? And we encourage them. And Frances is super good with the young people. So she could totally talk about how she gets the young people kind of fired up about that.
Oh my goodness, you put me on the spot.
No, it's not about being on the spot. Like I love young people too. Like everyone who knows, like I former program director for X amount of years. Like youth development is something I'm extremely into. And I'm glad you kind of segue to Frances. Both of you guys should answer this. So as far like, how do you? What's the best question? Think of yourselves as a youth, and even now, like what would your young self tell the adult self now to empower youth? To make sure that you are still doing the work that, because again, we were youth, we did things that we probably shouldn't have. We all have, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is okay. And whoever's listening, it is okay as a youth if we make mistakes. It is totally fine. So what would you say to your adult self, or if your 15-year-old self is in this time to a peer? So there's the two questions. What would you say to a peer, or what would you say to yourself? Is that
as a young person,
yeah.
as my younger self, what would I say? So
yeah.
complete honesty, younger Frances would tell Frances, now, girl, you're crazy. What are you doing? Like that's what younger would have said. But I was in a completely different space as a youth than I am now. Probably younger friend, after hanging around me for a little bit, would have been like, okay, this girl is cool. Let's see what she's actually trying to do. But off rip, younger friend would have been like, you sound crazy. No. But I think after all of that, younger friend would continue to encourage me the way that I do, and taking youth voice into consideration. That's something that, because in youth services, a lot of times, because we've all been youth, we believe that we can speak for the youth. And I think younger me would continue to tell me, like, yes, continue to take the young people's voice into consideration, because it can be hard at times, especially because young people, all of them have a voice and all of them is different. And it's sometimes hard to like take all of it in, and it's like try to make everyone happy. But I believe that it's very essential to the work that we do. I'm very big on running a youth-led space, because this is for them. This was created for them, and I want it to be by them. Like, it's just, I'm here because I have to be the coordinator, you know? I'm here to help guide you all, but I'm very, very large on making sure that the young people are a part of what it is that's getting done for them. So I think the younger friend would just continue to be like, make sure that you're listening to my friends. Make sure you're listening to those other people over there. I think younger friend would still do that.
So, but what would younger friends say to her peers in this time?
Oh, younger friend would say to her peers, oh my goodness, ELMCOR is the coolest place ever. They're crazy, but it's the coolest place. But I am a product of my community, and I came to ELMCOR as a young person. So that was something that I would say even when I was younger. ELMCOR is crazy, but it's a great place to be. It's an amazing place to be.
Leyla?
What I would say to my younger self,
No, no, no,
Um,
no,
no,
no.
no, no.
No,
Okay.
not the
Younger,
adult,
you would
the
say to you.
youth.
Oh,
No,
what
no,
did they say to
no.
me? Okay, I can
Yes.
tell you right now. If a younger person, my younger me, right, would come to me now, right, like today, they would probably say something like, "You're really square," because I am. Um, you don't know the lingo, because I don't. But you're cool because
Oh,
you're okay with who you are, right? And that's important that you're not trying to impress anybody. You're good with who you are, and you have a little ounce of humor around it. That you're not the coolest, you don't try to be the coolest, and you're okay. And you still are interested and you ask, like, what does that mean? Because you kind of want to know, just so that you know who's around you, right? And that's part of it, is you have to know who is your population. So I have to know things. I may not all the time get it, but I will make an effort to get it. So I think that younger person would say that to me, like, you're a little square, but you're nice and you care about us. That's how I think that they would say that
and
in my own way.
and what would young Layla say to her peers in this day and time?
Um, you need to go to ELMCOR because you need to go to ELMCOR. You need to find a place for you after school, because sometimes in school they don't teach you what you really need to know, and you need to go somewhere where they're going to tell it to you straight. They're going to maybe tell it, depending on your age, not filtered, like tell it to you the way it is. So they're being authentic, but also that there are things that you need to acquire, other skills, right? That are not taught just in school about arithmetic and all that other stuff. That's good and everything, but there are other things you need in order for you to thrive as an adult that maybe you don't get in school, but if you go to community-based organizations and different programs, you get it there.
Thank you guys. Like, just because you guys are talking about youth so much, and I do want to go a step back to the beginning about the special populations that you guys are working with. Can you talk about that? Like, what made you choose the immigrant population, and like, what's the kind of work you want to do with them to make sure that they're successful, or we're all successful?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. We chose the migrant population because, especially in Queens, New York City is known as the melting pot. But Queens, all my Queens people know that it is like, if you ride on the 7 train, which is the one train that kind of takes you almost through all of the borough, you'll stop and it's almost like you doing jet setting on a jet, going through all different types of countries. It's amazing, right? So especially in the Corona area, the face of Corona, the population has totally changed throughout the years. So that's something that we want to keep in mind. Also, in our current climate, understanding that we have an influx of people coming in who are there in a lot of shelters in our area. So we want to be cognizant of that. We want to provide them the supports that they need. And I think that us as community members, welcoming our new community members, whether it be the community of Corona, the community of Queens, or New York City, we need to be culturally responsive, right? Like, we need to know where they're coming from, so that then we're not making a narrative in our head of what's going on with them. Well, let's just talk to them, right? But also provide them information in a way that they understand, so they feel included and not as a stranger or a guest, so to speak, right? So that's really what we want. And then as far as the coalition and prevention, it's really, when we talk, prevention is a lot about just preparing people with skills, right? So there will be some hard times when you come into a new country, you're not well established in yet, you don't understand the language. So definitely being that support to them and connecting them to different resources is super important, because there are a lot of resources people just don't know about.
So you said a key phrase for those of us who used to watch the Pee-wee's Permanence Playhouse, and they shout out, you said the word prevention. Ah. So why is prevention important to you guys?
I can start first. Because like Layla said, prevention is all about equipping you with skills. So for me, I believe that prevention is essential. Because if you have prevention, there would be no reason to then now have to be in recovery. If I was prevented from the beginning, I now don't have to be in recovery from it, because I was already equipped with the skills. for me as a young person who used substances, I think if prevention was integrated into my life, I can't say I wouldn't have used substances because I was a very mischievous young person and very curious about everything. But if I was equipped with skills and alternative methods to coping with what it is that I was going through, I would not have indulged the way that I did. So I believe that prevention is extremely important because it's literally exactly what it says. It prevents more casualties. So I believe that prevention is that important because it saves lives.
Prevention for me is two things that stick out to me. First of all, I think prevention is super important. I don't think that it gets enough props for what it does, right? I think it's also because sometimes I think that we as a society or as a government are very reactive rather than proactive. So I think prevention is a more proactive role, like you really thinking about what are the root causes and issues that sometimes come across of why young people or people in general use substances. And if you address that root cause, it will be more impactful than you just reacting to things, right? So I think prevention is that, right? The skill-based, the really looking and looking at young people and looking at our community about what do they really need, because we know there's going to be trials and tribulations, but if they had these skills on how to cope, I mean, things like goal planning, things like what is a healthy relationship, all of those things that they don't teach you in school, but it's important for you to know so that you have a strong sense of self and be able to then, mitigate those circumstances where you have peer pressure and stuff like that. So that's number one. Also with prevention, I think that it gives a really great opportunity for the development of these life skills, right? Like really looking at a young person being healthy, not only healthy from a perspective of not using substances, but even healthy mentally, really taking into account that this happens everywhere, but you know what? I'm going to be able to get through it because I have these skills. I remember when we were talking about what a healthy relationship looks like. I remember about, let me stop. Let me think before I make decisions when we're doing healthy decision making, right? All of those things are key development pieces in a young person. And there are adults that don't have those. So that's why we're glad that now prevention has gone to the lifespan, because you're never too old to learn new things, right? And then really kind of sit back and think about it and say, you know what? I didn't know that. I didn't know, and I can use this as we move forward. And also I do want to say about prevention, because it's something that I enjoy doing, is the parenting part, right? I think it's important that it's not just geared towards the kids, but also towards the parents of children, understanding what prevention is, understanding that prevention isn't talking about drugs and then your kids are going to go out and do it, because that's the other thing, right? That a lot of sometimes people are a little bit turned off by the curriculum because they think you're going to talk about drugs, like we're going to give you one-on-one, 101 about Oxycontin or heroin. It's not about that. You have to understand it so that you know what are all the consequences. So that then you'll say, like, I don't want to do that because I don't know what's going to happen, but I have some awareness, right? I was very sheltered, so I didn't really use any substances, but I felt that I missed out on the opportunity for me to understand it better. Now I know much more as an adult than I did as a young person, but, not to say that I wasn't faced with peer pressure and stuff like that, and not to say that I didn't have peers that fell into that, but you don't know, right? Like if you don't know anything, if you don't know better, you won't do better. So sometimes you need to have that baseline knowledge just so that you can also help your friends and be like, didn't you know about that? If you take these edibles, this is how long it'll stay in your system. Just educating your peers as well. I think education is always the key to things, to preventing things, to being proactive about things is important. So prevention is important and is not solely talking about prescription drugs and things like that. There's so much more to it that is really helpful and that actually transferable into adulthood that got nothing to do with substance use. It has to do with just being successful, right? And just being your best self. So
Copy.
that's also important.
Prevention is the baseline, is life skills, and then it just so happens that we educate the youth also on substances. But the baseline of prevention, what prevention is life skills. It's providing young people and adults, all humans, with life skills so that they can prevent whatever it is, because there's multiple preventions, but prevention is really life skills and providing humans with those life skills that are needed in order to prevent casualties.
Yeah, and the whole thing, I mean, just from what both of you said, prevention is so multifaceted. People try to break it down into a very, like, 1-2 punch. It's not that at all. When Chevar first came to work for the PRC, he said, well, I don't really have a background in prevention. I said, yeah, you do. Everything you do is prevention. Because, prevention is all about, like Leyla said, being your best self. One of the things when I first got into prevention, I couldn't understand why we were so focused on the drugs. It's like, come on, and like you said, the root cause. Why does somebody use? For me, when I got into recovery, I had to learn why I used so I could heal the inner person that had been so badly hurt and damaged. And the big thing for me with prevention, and this is always the part that makes it so hard, it's not like an overnight thing. It's not a process that happens in a year or two. It could be 10 or 20. And we always say this stuff. I'm still in touch with my kids from the 90s. In 97, I left New York City for 17 years. And I was working as a SAPist in the New York City public schools in a program called Spark. I'm still in touch with those people. They're in their 40s now. And some of them are even mothers and fathers. They made it, but they didn't make it right away because it doesn't happen overnight. So prevention's an investment. That's really what it comes down to. And the sad part is that the funds are not invested enough because what people don't realize, a lot of people who see it just on the surface don't realize that by investing $1 in prevention today, you're going to save lives, you're going to save society, you're going to save so many things, and you're also going to save money. And that's what I look at when I try to explain it to people, because that's what people see. So you're going to save for every dollar anywhere between $7 and $13 for every dollar invested in prevention. So start giving us more money. Let us invest in the foundation. Let us invest in the healing, and you're going to have a much healthier society. So I said it all, but I'm looking at the time though, and we're already almost out of time. This is going too fast.
That was so fast.
Well, you're gonna have to come back. But
absolutely,
we really loved having you both here today, and I feel like we're just starting this discussion. But Chevar, should we throw at them our famous question that we always ask our guests for a little bit of fun?
Absolutely.
Okay, why don't you go for it?
We remember I earlier asked about your young self. Take yourselves back then, or maybe even younger, whatever makes sense to you. When you were younger, what did you want to be or do when you became an adult, when you became older? What was that job, that career, that goal, superhero? I don't know what it is, whatever it is. Whenever you're ready, please shout it out.
Oh, I know exactly what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon.
Well, say what?
Whoa, okay.
I wanted to be a heart surgeon so bad. I think surgeons are like phenomenal. I still think that surgeons are phenomenal. When I got to high school, I realized, girl, you cannot be in charge of somebody's life like that. Like, that is a lot of responsibility that I'm just not for. But yes, for a very long time, up until like middle school, I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. That is what I wanted to be.
Cool.
Nice.
I wanted to be a divorce attorney.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to be a divorce attorney. I wanted to be an attorney, but then I wanted to be a divorce attorney. And I wanted to part-time gig, be prima ballerina at the American Ballet Theater.
Dancer by night, the divorce lawyer by day.
Yep. Be in the courtroom by day and on the stage doing Swan Lake by night.
The things we learn about people when we ask that question.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
Great. That is great.
Wow.
Well, this was wonderful. Like I said, we want you to come back.
Yes,
you're more than welcome to come back.
We hope you'll start participating in NYC Pop with us, because we do a holiday, and you don't even have to be part of Pop to do it. We do a holiday podcast, and we'll send you the information about that in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
So we have 20, 25 people here with holiday backgrounds, just talking about the things that they're celebrating,
All
because
right.
that's part of prevention too. It's all part of prevention. And I'm so grateful that you got this grant. You know how long I've wanted you guys to have a coalition, and it's happening. And we're so excited, and we're here to provide the help. And we're just really grateful you came today. So thank you for joining us and for sharing
Thank
all
you
this
so
incredible positive
much.
energy.
Having us.
Okay. Well, Chevar and I are going to stick around, and we're going to
Okay.
close out the show. But we thank you again, and this is being recorded before Thanksgiving, even though it's coming out after. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank
You all
you
too.
too.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
Enjoy.
puppies.
She's already barking in the background.
Oh, there she goes. Bye. Bye, Shavar.
Take care. Thanks for coming, you guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Ronnie, another good episode.
Oh my God. I just love their energy. It is so contagious.
I had more questions, and I was like, "Wait a minute, let's dial it back." So when they come back, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot.
I just didn't even realize how much, but we definitely will be providing that information in the comments and in the description, so that if you need to, reach out and get in touch with them, you can, because there's so many great services happening here in New York. People don't realize. They do not realize what's out there. But that's why we're here, so that we can bring that information to you. Because as we know,
this is the solution. Nothing changes if we change nothing.
we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.